tease. They've been wooing him for months, and now they have that name. Ray Mallon has signed up to the campaign for an elected regional assembly in the North East. But is the Middlesbrough mayor likely to make you vote any differently? Well, here's our political editor, Richard Moss.
Ray Mallon holds court. There's few politicians in the North East who command as much media attention. So no wonder campaigners for a regional assembly have been trying to get him on board for months. Now they've succeeded.
I believe that the regional assembly will be good for the area. What the North East needs, it needs harmonisation. Let's face it, when you look at the 4 areas of the North East, to a large extent they've been factioned for many, many years. And what we've got to think of is this: we've got to think strategically, we've got to think collectively, and we've got to go forward together. And this region, I believe, can compete with the rest of the country and internationally as well.
And Mayor Mallon hasn't ruled out standing for an assembly if he's not happy with the quality of other candidates. But does his endorsement make any difference to the way people in Middlesbrough will vote?
Well, what Ray Mallon thinks won't make any effect on what I think, you know, because I make up my own decision. So.
I don't want one, thank you.
No, even if Ray Mallon says he wants one?
No. That won't sway me in any way.
That won't sway me at all. I like the man.
Yeah.
It doesn't sway me.
To be honest, I have absolutely no opinion on it at all. I have no interest.
I don't know who he is.
You don't know who Ray Mallon is?
Is he the mayor or something?
So Ray Mallon's presence in this debate may not yet be enough to secure a yes vote, but the campaigners are convinced that when he goes out and meets people, he'll be able to win them over. But no campaigners say they're not worried. They claim that Teesside might only get 3 seats out of the 25 in an assembly, and they believe voters will be convinced by arguments, not personalities.
Ray Mallon's known as an independent person. I can't understand why he would want to endorse something which will cost people in Middlesbrough and all around the North East more money. It won't have any real power to change their lives, and it won't have any real resources to change their lives. It's a talking shop for politicians. So today, unfortunately, is a day that Ray has joined the political establishment.
There's no doubt, though, Teesside is a crucial area in this fight. We'll just have to wait and see whether the Mallon factor makes any difference.
Coming up next.
The Mayor of Middlesbrough, Ray Mallon, has announced this morning that he'll back the plans for an elected regional assembly in the North East. Well, our political editor, Richard Moss, was there, but he's back in our newsroom now. So, Richard, what did Mr Mallon have to say for himself?
Well, Mr Mallon has been teasing us for a while about the fact he was going to say something about this. And he admits himself he's timed this for maximum impact just a few weeks away from when people get their ballot papers through the post to vote in the referendum on November the 4th. And he says he's been talking to Yes campaigners for around a year now, and they've persuaded him of their cause. They persuaded him that regional assembly would have the answer to some of the North East problems.
What the North East needs, it needs harmonisation. Let's face it, when you look at the 4 areas of the North East, to a large extent they've been factioned for many, many years. And what we've got to think of is this: we've got to think strategically, we've got to think collectively, and we've got to go forward together. And this region, I believe, can compete with the rest of the country and internationally as well.
So, Richard, what about the No campaign? Are they disappointed they didn't get Mr Mallon on their side?
Well, I think it'd be telling an untruth to say they wouldn't have minded his support. But what they say is it doesn't matter who the personalities are involved in this. They want people to look at the issues. They say they want people to look at the small print involved in the actual powers of an assembly. And they say that they're disappointed with Mr Mallon.
Ray Mallon's known as an independent person. I can't understand why he would want to endorse something which will cost people in Middlesbrough and all around the North East more money. It won't have any real power to change their lives, and it won't have any real resources to change their lives. It's a talking shop for politicians. So today, unfortunately, is a day that Ray has joined the political establishment.
So finally, Richard, how influential do you think Ray Mallon's backing is going to be?
Well, this morning, after speaking to Mr Mallon, I did go around Middlesbrough and tried asking people in the town, really, whether they thought his decision would have any influence on them. And most people said, well, it wouldn't. But what the Yes campaign are counting on is that Ray Mallon said he will be active in this campaign. He will go out and try and convince people. The other question is, would he stand for an assembly? And he says at the moment he hasn't made his mind up. He will wait to see what the quality of the people are who eventually stand if we do vote yes. And if he's not happy with that quality, he hasn't ruled out standing.
Richard, thank you.
It was the day when the confusion was supposed to end. Up to now, 2 No campaigns have been fighting plans for an elected regional assembly in the North East. Today, one was selected as the official group and awarded £100,000. So what's the problem? Well, the other No campaign says it has more support and will carry on regardless. Our political editor Richard Moss reports.
They were being paraded as if they were the latest football signings, but these men are actually the people who lead the Yes and No campaigns in this November's referendum. They were picked by the Electoral Commission, the referees in this contest. The Yes and No campaigns now get £100,000 of public money to spend on getting their message across. But the decision also allows them to spend up to £665,000 in total over the length of the campaign. So it seems straightforward, but no, someone was missing. It's Sunderland's metric martyr Neil Heron. He's been running a campaign against an assembly for more than 2 years, but the Commission rejected his bid to be the official group, despite, he says, letters of support like these.
We have Labour, Lib Dems, Liberals, Conservatives, UKIP, and people from no party political affiliations as well. So it's quite surprising that we're not representative. And I think the whole of the North East public will be scratching their heads on this one.
Sour grapes? Well, perhaps, but it's coming to something when even your supposed enemies, the now official Yes campaign, are offering you sympathy.
It's not for us to intrude on private grief in a way, but I have to say that we do feel rather sorry for Neil Heron, who's prosecuted the No argument, if you like, for the past few months, done his best on his own to get the message out, as it were. And all of a sudden, at the last moment, he's sidelined, essentially, by a group that he tells me is the Tory party in disguise.
But is that true? Well, the winners are a group backed by the Conservative Party, and this spokesman is the Tories' PR man. But the group has announced 50 new supporters today and welcomed the UK Independence Party on board.
The Conservative Party certainly are supporting the policies on this, so we've got to accept that. But it's a broad church. This is far beyond the Conservative Party. This is not about party politics. We must make sure that isn't the case, in fact. We must make sure this is about the facts. What's on offer to us here, and do we want that? Is it right for the North East or not? That's the issue. The party politics, we should get out of it completely.
But Neil Heron is one man who won't be signing up to his rival. He says his campaign continues, even if he's not official.
Well, if you still haven't made up your mind if an elected regional assembly for the North East is a good idea, you're definitely not alone. We'll be meeting 4 people who haven't decided how to vote later in the programme. Now, some news just...
The gloves have finally come off in the battle to persuade the North East to either back or reject its own assembly. The 2 official opposing sides that will campaign for and against the idea have been announced. Meanwhile, it's expected that Middlesbrough's Mayor, Ray Mallon, will give his backing to the Yes campaign tomorrow. Jonathan Morell reports.
A rare sight. Key figures in the Yes and No campaign shake hands for the cameras. But today it was down to business as the Electoral Commission announced which organisations would get official backing to campaign for and against a North East Assembly. So what does each group get to help it make its case to you and I? Well, both Yes and No will receive £100,000 from the taxpayer to fund their campaign. They can spend up to £665,000 each, but that cash, well, they'll have to raise that themselves. Both sides will also be able to make their argument to you in a leaflet that'll be coming through your door in the next few weeks. And they'll be able to show a referendum TV broadcast. That's similar to a party political broadcast, which is to be screened here on Tyne Tees and by the BBC. The pro and anti groups announced it was on with the campaign.
A North East Assembly would cost council taxpayers more money. A North East Assembly will have no extra resources on the people's priorities.
By contrast, we offer something positive. We offer the prospect of more decisions about the North East being taken in the North East.
One face not at today's gathering was Neil Heron, supporter of the metric martyr. He led a rival No group, but it wasn't chosen by the Commission. So, might he be involved with the official No campaign?
Come on board, join us. In fact, we're inviting him to meet our board. Come along, chat, and we might be able to find a role in him speaking. He's a very powerful advocate.
Already figures such as Sir John Hall and opera singer Susanna Clarke have given their backing to the Yes campaign. Has the No lobby lined up similar high-profile figures?
There will be more names, but we don't believe this is going to be a battle about the glamorous nature of our supporters one way or another. If they want to have the celebrity game, let them have the celebrity game. We're in the business of propagating the arguments.
Meanwhile, the Yes group are expected to add another well-known backer to their cause, Middlesbrough's Mayor Ray Mallon.
I think he's going to announce what he's got to say tomorrow, We're hopeful that he's going to say the right thing from our point of view, and I think with people like Ray Mallon on board, I think that gives a lot of reassurance to people in the south of the region that high-profile people will be in there batting for their part of the region.
The next few weeks will see both sides trying to get their case across. Both believe there's all to play for before the vote on November the 4th. Jonathan Morell, North East Tonight.
Time for